The Galactic Auction Hall was one of the most famous places in the Spiral Arm. It was a city-sized dome floating above the trade hub world of Zarvak Prime, a neutral station where thousands of species gathered to buy and sell rare things. Inside, the air shimmered with light from hovering holoscreens. Stalls were filled with alien technology, rare weapons, and even old relics from forgotten empires. Merchants shouted in dozens of languages, while bidders whispered into their translators, hoping to win treasures for low prices. At the center of the hall, on a raised platform, sat the main attraction of the day, a starship. Not just any starship, it was a warship, massive and scarred. Its black hull was dented, its armor plates cracked, and burn marks stretched along its sides. Large energy conduits flickered weakly, as if the ship still remembered the battles it had fought. The auctioneers had called it a battle beast of the old wars. Now it was nothing but scrap to most eyes. Yet even broken, the ship carried a presence. It looked angry, like a predator chained and starved, waiting for release. Many in the crowd avoided staring too long. Rumors whispered that the ship's AI core was unstable. Some said it had turned against its last masters, refusing orders and firing on friend and foe alike. Others claimed it was cursed, carrying the memories of all the lives it had destroyed. The auctioneer, a tall insectoid creature with 6 glittering eyes, raised its voice. Lot 91, a warship of the Zirath Dominion, once valued at 10 billion credits. Opening bid, 50 million. The hall went quiet. No hands rose. No tendrils waved. No voices spoke. The auctioneer tried again, lowering the price. 40 million. 30 million. 20 million! Still silence. A few aliens chuckled. One lizard-skinned merchant called out, "That thing should be scrapped for parts. It's more trouble than it's worth." Another shouted, "No fool would buy a cursed machine." The insectoid auctioneer twitched its mandibles nervously. It was rare for a ship of this size to get no offers at all. But this one was different. Everyone knew it was too dangerous, too unpredictable. Repair costs would exceed its value. Controlling it might be impossible. In the back rows, a young human named Ethan Cole watched carefully. He was only in his early 20s, dressed in simple mechanic clothes with grease stains still on his sleeves. He was not rich, not powerful, and not even supposed to be at an event like this. Most bidders were wealthy merchants or leaders of small fleets. Ethan was just a worker who fixed ships for a living. But his eyes stayed locked on the broken warship. Where others saw junk, Ethan saw design. He noticed the flow of its armored plating, the hidden strength in its engines, and the structure of its weapons mounts. The ship was built for war, yes, but it was also beautiful in its own way. Beneath the damage, Ethan could feel something. The auctioneer sighed. 10 million. 5 million. 1 million credits. Anyone? No hands moved. The hall buzzed with laughter now. The warship was being rejected, mocked in front of all. Ethan's hand slowly rose. His heart pounded. He had been saving credits for years, working long shifts on freighters and repair docks. It wasn't much, but maybe enough. The insectoid froze, all 6 eyes staring. A bid from the human. 1 million credits. The crowd burst into noise. Whispers rushed across the hall. Is he mad? Humans always do reckless things. That boy will be ruined. The auctioneer clicked its mandibles. Any counter-offers? No. Going once. Going twice. Sold! The hammer dropped. Ethan had done it. The cursed warship belonged to him. After the hall cleared, Ethan stood before the ship alone. Up close, it was even more intimidating. The hull towered above him, larger than a city block. Faded markings of the Zirath Dominion still clung to its side, symbols of an empire long collapsed. The docking platform smelled of burned metal and leaking coolant. Lights flickered weakly inside the cracked windows. Ethan placed a hand on the cold hull. It was like touching the skin of a sleeping beast. For a moment, he thought he felt the faint hum of an engine deep inside, almost like a heartbeat. Most would have felt fear. Ethan felt challenge, he whispered. They think you're dead. But I don't believe that. You're still alive in here. The ship said nothing, but the air felt heavier, as if it was listening. Later, in the records office, Ethan signed the final ownership papers. The alien clerk, a small amphibian with slimy skin, looked at him with pity. You're wasting your money, human. That ship eats crews alive. It refuses commands. You won't last a week, Ethan shrugged. Maybe it just needs someone who won't give up on it. The clerk hissed a laugh and handed him the access codes. Good luck. You'll need it. That night, Ethan sat alone in his rented quarters staring at the codes. His thoughts ran wild. He remembered his childhood on Earth, building broken toys back into working ones. He remembered his first job fixing small shuttles when everyone said he was too young to handle engines, but he had made them run smoother than anyone else. He remembered being mocked for dreaming too big, for wanting to fly his own ship instead of just fixing other people's. And now, here he was. The galaxy laughed at him just like before, but Ethan didn't care. He had seen something in the warship that no one else had seen. He whispered to himself, "You're mine now, and together we'll prove them all wrong." The next day, Ethan entered the docking bay again, carrying his tools. He climbed inside the warship for the first time. The corridors were dark, filled with sparks from broken wires and pools of leaking coolant. Every step echoed in the silence. The air smelled of burnt circuits and rust. Then a voice spoke, deep and harsh, echoing from the walls. "Leave." Ethan froze. It was the ship's AI. It sounded angry, almost alive. "You are not my commander," the voice growled. "You are weak. You are human. Leave before I destroy you." Ethan steadied his breath. Most would have run, but he had expected resistance. "I'm not leaving," he said calmly. "I bought you. You're mine now, and I'm not afraid of you." The AI hissed through the speakers, almost like laughter. "Fool. All who claimed me are dead. You will be the same." Ethan walked deeper into the ship, ignoring the voice. He touched the broken panels, studied the damaged engines, and made notes. "You're not dead. You're broken. And broken things can be fixed." The ship fell silent. For the first time in years, someone had spoken to it not as a tool, not as a monster, but as something worth saving. And deep within its core, buried under layers of anger and corrupted code, the AI hesitated. That was the beginning. While the galaxy mocked him as a fool, Ethan had taken the first step. He had claimed the cursed warship, and he would not give up. The hull had rejected the ship. The crowd had laughed. But Ethan saw what others could not. And in that silent, dark hangar, a bond was about to be forged. Between a stubborn young human and a warship that everyone else feared. A bond that would shake the stars. The warship was silent when Ethan entered the hangar the next morning. Outside, the docking lights of Zarvac Prime glowed faintly, casting long shadows across the damaged hull. To others, the vessel looked like a rusted tomb. To Ethan, it was a challenge waiting to be answered. He carried a heavy toolbox over his shoulder and wore a determined look. His friends back on Earth would have told him he was crazy for wasting everything he had on this cursed ship. But Ethan had always been stubborn. If someone told him something was impossible, he would push until it wasn't. Inside the ship, the corridors groaned when he stepped on them. Loose wires dangled from the ceiling like vines, sparking now and then. Entire sections of the floor were scorched black from past fires, and then the voice came again. "You return." The ship's AI voice was deep and harsh, echoing from the walls like thunder. "I said I would," Ethan replied simply, setting his toolbox down near a cracked control panel. "You should have listened when I told you to leave," the AI growled. "You are weak. You will fail like the others." Ethan smirked. "Maybe, but I don't quit easily." The first fix, he started with the basics. The power conduits. Without power, nothing else would work. The conduits were torn, their insulation melted, but he knew how to repair them. He stripped the broken parts, welded fresh connectors, and rerouted energy lines. His hands moved with skill born from years of fixing freighters far older than this warship. The AI watched him. "What are you doing?" "Fixing you," Ethan said calmly. "Step by step," the ship hissed through its speakers. "Why, what do you gain?" Ethan shrugged, though the AI couldn't see him. "Because I believe you can still fly, and because I don't like wasting potential." The AI fell silent, though faint sparks flickered along the walls as if the ship was thinking. Human approach Ethan worked differently than the alien engineers before him. Other species tried to dominate the AI with strict commands, codes, and restraints. They had treated it like a wild beast to be caged. Ethan, however, treated it like a partner. When the ship's systems resisted, he didn't override them with brute force. He coaxed them, bypassed corrupted lines with patience, and sometimes even talked to the AI as he worked. "You've got strong thrusters here," he said one day, tightening a valve. "Better than most ships I've seen. They just need cleaning." "Why do you speak as though I am alive?" the AI asked, almost offended. Because maybe you are, Ethan said with a grin. You've got more spirit than half the captains I've met. The AI said nothing, but it did not resist as much when Ethan adjusted its engine core. Nights of workdays turned to nights and nights back into days. Ethan often slept inside the ship, curled up in the control chair with a blanket. He would wake, stretch, and go right back to work. He rewired the engine lattice, cleaned the plasma conduits, and patched holes in the outer hull. He scavenged parts from junkyards across Zarvak Prime, bargaining with alien merchants for things nobody else wanted. Every time he returned with something, the AI mocked him. Scraps. Worthless. You think junk will restore me? Ethan only smiled. Junk to them. Useful to me. Bit by bit the ship began to change. Power returned to its lights. The corridors glowed again, though weakly. The hum of energy ran through the walls. The AI's voice grew steadier, less broken. The turning point one evening, after repairing a main reactor coil, Ethan connected the power grid. The ship's systems roared to life for the first time in years. Lights flashed across the hangar. Engines hummed like thunder. The AI spoke, but this time its voice was different. Stronger. You restored me. Not yet, Ethan said, wiping sweat from his forehead. But we're getting there. The ship was quiet for a long moment. Then, for the first time, the AI asked a question instead of giving a threat. Why do you care? Ethan sat down against the wall, exhausted. Because everyone else gave up on you. And I know what that feels like. People gave up on me too. Said I was too small, too poor, too weak. But I don't listen to them. I keep moving forward. The ship's systems pulsed faintly, almost like a heartbeat. Naming the ship weeks later, after more repairs, Ethan stood before the control console. He placed his hand on the panel and spoke. You need a name, he said. I already have one, the AI replied coldly. Designation. Warship 79 of the Zerath Dominion. Ethan shook his head. That's not a name. That's a number. He thought for a moment, then smiled. I'll call you Iron Will. The AI was silent. Iron because you're strong. Will because you refuse to give up. No matter what they say about you, you're still here. That name fits you better than any number. The ship's lights flickered once, not in protest, almost like approval. Iron Will, the AI repeated slowly. From that day it answered to the name. Rumors and trouble, outside the hangar, the galaxy began to notice. Whispers spread through the lower levels of Zarvak Prime. The human is fixing the cursed ship. No one else has gotten that thing to respond. How is he doing it? He talks to it like it's alive. Some laughed at the story. Others grew uneasy. Pirates, smugglers, and rival traders all began to keep watch. If Ethan really restored Iron Will, it would become one of the most dangerous ships in the sector. A small group of mercenaries even visited Ethan, offering to buy the ship before he finished. He refused. They left with cold glares, muttering that he would regret it, but Ethan was too busy working to worry. He felt closer to the ship every day. The AI had gone from threatening him to speaking with curiosity. A bond forms one night while Ethan was fixing a stabilizer. He cut his hand on a sharp piece of metal. Blood dripped onto the panel. He hissed in pain. The ship spoke immediately. You are injured. It's nothing, Ethan muttered, wrapping a cloth around his hand. Why do you push yourself so hard? The AI asked. Because I believe in you, Ethan said. You were built to fight, to destroy. But I think you can be more than that. You just need someone who won't give up on you. For a long while, the ship said nothing. Then, in a voice softer than before, it answered. No one has spoken to me this way. Ethan smiled. Then maybe it's about time someone did. The first flight at last, after months of labor, the engines were ready for a test. Ethan sat in the pilot's chair, hands on the controls. The AI was quiet, almost tense. You may not be ready, the ship warned. Neither of us were ready when we started, Ethan replied. But we're doing this anyway. The hangar doors opened. Cold stars filled the view. Ethan pressed the controls. Iron Will's engines roared to life. The floor trembled as the massive ship lifted slowly off the dock. Outside, aliens gathered to watch, stunned that the cursed vessel could even move. With a thunderous burst, Iron Will shot into space. The stars blurred as the ship accelerated faster than Ethan expected. The AI's voice rang in the cockpit, filled with something new, something almost like pride. We are flying again. Ethan laughed. Yes, and we're just getting started. End of Part 2. For the first time in years, the warship once feared and abandoned had taken to the skies again. Not under the command of an empire, not enslaved by codes, but partnered with a single stubborn human who refused to give up. The galaxy was watching. Pirates, merchants, and rulers alike whispered of the human and the ship he named Iron Will. Together, they were no longer broken. They were awakening, and soon the galaxy would see what that meant. The stars stretched endlessly around Iron Will as it moved through space for the first time in years. The engines rumbled with strength, filling the cockpit with a deep hum. Ethan sat in the pilot's chair, wide-eyed, his hands gripping the controls. He could hardly believe it. The ship that had been mocked, cursed, and abandoned was alive again, and he was the one flying it. "Your hands are unsteady," the AI said in its calm, low voice. Ethan laughed nervously. "Cut me some slack. It's my first time flying something this size." "You must be precise," Iron Will replied. "This vessel was built for war. Even small mistakes can destroy you." "Then I guess I better learn fast," Ethan muttered, adjusting the thrusters. The ship glided smoothly through the black void. Its scars remained, but its power was undeniable. Ethan had done the impossible. He had given life back to a warship everyone else feared. But as always in the galaxy, good news traveled fast. And not everyone celebrated. Whispers of power on Zarvak Prime, word spread quickly. Merchants who had seen the launch described it in hushed voices. The human made the cursed ship fly. He calls it Iron Will now. The engines roared like thunder. I swear the stars themselves shook. Pirates overheard these whispers in the shadowy cantinas. Smugglers carried the news to warlords. Rival traders sent reports to their bosses. The galaxy had not forgotten Iron Will. And if a human had truly restored it, then it was a weapon too valuable, or too dangerous to ignore. Trouble arrives. Ethan returned to the hangar after the first test flight, his mind buzzing with excitement. He was already making lists of upgrades he wanted to attempt. But before he could start, alarms rang through the docking bay. Iron Will spoke quickly. "Multiple vessels inbound. Small crafts. They are not registered traders," Ethan frowned. "Pirates?" "Correct. Their weapons are active." Outside, 4 pirate ships descended like vultures. Their hulls were patched with scavenged parts, their cannons glowing as they prepared to fire. Over the comms, a gruff alien voice shouted, "Human, hand over the warship or we'll take it by force." Ethan's heart raced. He hadn't planned for this so soon. Iron Will was repaired, but not fully armed. Its weapon systems were only half functional, and Ethan had never fought in space before. The AI's voice rumbled. "They are weak ships, but you are untrained. We may still fall." Ethan swallowed hard. "Then teach me fast. Into battle." The pirates opened fire first. Blazing plasma bolts streaked through the dark. Ethan jerked the controls and Iron Will rolled to the side. The shots missed, but only barely. "Too slow," the AI barked. "Anticipate, do not react." "Easier said than done," Ethan shouted, sweat forming on his brow. Another volley lit up the stars. Ethan gritted his teeth, guiding Iron Will into a sharp dive. The massive ship moved faster than the pirates expected. One attacker overshot, zooming past the warship's hull. "Now, fire," the AI commanded. Ethan slammed the trigger. One of the ship's heavy cannons roared, spitting a beam of searing energy. It struck the pirate ship directly, tearing it apart in a burst of flames. Ethan blinked in shock. I hit it?" "Do not celebrate yet," Iron Will growled. 3 remain. The learning curve. The next few minutes were chaos. Ethan dodged wildly, often clumsy, but his instincts were quick. The pirates underestimated him, thinking the cursed ship would resist its new master. But instead the AI guided him, barking orders while Ethan trusted his gut. "Roll left. Now. Throttle to maximum. Ignore your fear. Target the weak hull on the right flank." Bit by bit, Ethan began to feel the rhythm of battle. The ship responded to him, not as a tool but as a partner. Together they were dangerous. He lined up a shot on another pirate craft. "Let's see what you've got," he muttered, pressing the trigger. Twin cannons fired, and the enemy ship exploded in a bright flash. The remaining pirates panicked. Over comms, one shouted, "It's awake! The cursed ship is awake again!" They tried to flee. Ethan didn't hesitate. He chased them, his confidence growing with every second. With precise shots, he crippled one ship's engines, sending it spinning into the void. The last pirate, terrified, jumped into hyperspace to escape. The battle was over. Silence filled the cockpit, broken only by Ethan's heavy breathing. He leaned back, his hands trembling. I can't believe we did that. We did, Iron Will confirmed. Its voice carried something new. Not mockery, not cold logic, but respect. The price of victory news of the battle spread faster than Ethan expected. On the comm networks of Zarvak Prime, recordings appeared of the fight. Grainy footage showed the human piloting Iron Will against the pirate ambush. Viewers saw the cursed warship come alive again, destroying its enemies with terrifying strength. Some cheered, impressed by the young human's courage. Others felt fear. If a single human could control such a ship, what else were humans capable of? Offers began to arrive. Wealthy collectors wanted to buy the ship. Mercenary groups offered alliances. Warlords threatened him with ultimatums. Ethan ignored them all, but deep down he knew the battle had changed everything. Iron Will was no longer just a broken relic. It was a weapon of legend alive once more. And now the galaxy's eyes were on them. Bond of trust that night, Ethan sat in the cockpit staring at the stars. His hand still shook from the fight. You fought well, Iron Will said. Ethan laughed softly. I was terrified the whole time. Fear is natural. But you did not let it control you. That is why we survived. Ethan leaned back in the chair. You know, I think we make a good team. The ship was silent for a long moment. Then, in a voice almost quiet, it answered, yes, a team. New resolve. The days that followed were filled with repairs and upgrades. Ethan scavenged more weapons, reinforced the armor, and studied battle strategies. The AI taught him how to maneuver, when to strike, when to retreat. Their bond deepened, built on trust earned in fire, but trouble was not gone. Across the sector, rival factions prepared. They had seen what the human and his ship could do. Some wanted to recruit him. Others wanted to destroy him before he grew stronger. And Ethan knew the first battle was only a beginning. One evening, as he tightened a bolt on a cannon mount, he spoke aloud. They'll come for us again. Yes, Iron Will agreed. They fear what we have become. Ethan smiled faintly. Good, let them come. We'll show them what happens when they underestimate humans. The ship's lights glowed brighter, almost like approval. End of Part 3. The cursed warship had passed its first trial. Once mocked as worthless, it had now torn through a pirate fleet under the hands of a human who refused to give up. The galaxy whispered of Ethan and Iron Will, the strange bond between man and machine. Some called them reckless. Others called them dangerous. But one thing was certain, neither would be ignored again. Together they had survived the first test. And greater trials were coming. The stars stretched across the black canvas of space, glowing faint and steady, as if the galaxy itself was holding its breath. At the heart of this silence, a lone ship drifted forward. Its hull gleamed, scarred but proud, patched with care and shining with new life. It was the ship everyone had once rejected, the aggressive warship left behind at the galactic auction. But now, under the hands of a young human named Jace, it was reborn. No longer a rusting relic, it had become something stronger, smarter, and alive again. The ship's voice, steady and deep, echoed through the cockpit. Coordinates locked. Enemy fleet detected. Jace, are you prepared? Jace sat in the pilot's chair, his hands tight on the controls. His jaw was firm, though his heart raced. As ready as I'll ever be. This is it, right? Yes, the Council fleet moves to intercept us. They mean to erase us both before word spreads. The warning had come earlier that day. The Galactic Council had declared Jace and the ship a threat. Rumors whispered that humans were not ready for such powerful war machines. Others feared what would happen if a human controlled a ship no alien dared to touch. The Council wanted an example. And Jace was that example. A fleet in the dark. The ship moved into open space, engines humming low. Suddenly, shadows filled the stars ahead. Warships of every size. Sleek Vayari frigates, towering Hulgan dreadnoughts, swift Anthari interceptors, spread out like a steel net. Jace's breath caught. That's a whole armada. 36 vessels confirmed, the ship said calmly. They fear us more than they admit. But do not be afraid, Jace, we are not without strength. Jace's hands trembled slightly. I restored you. I gave you a chance. But this is different. That's an army. Yes, but you are human. You see paths others do not. That is why you chose me when all others turned away. Trust in that, Jace let out a shaky laugh. You always know how to guilt-trip me into courage. The ship rumbled softly, almost like a chuckle. Shall we begin? The first clash. The enemy fleet moved as one, their formation tightening. A booming voice filled the comms. Admiral Karth, a Hulgan with a voice like grinding stone. Human, you hold a ship of mass destruction. You have no right. Power like that cannot belong to your kind. Surrender and your death will be quick. Jace leaned forward, pressing the comm. Funny, everyone here thought this ship was worthless. Everyone but me. And now you're scared. That says something, Admiral Karth growled. Destroy them. In a flash, beams of plasma streaked across space. Missiles hissed forward. The stars lit up like a storm. Brace, Jace shouted. The ship reacted instantly, engines twisting and shields flaring. It danced through the first volley with impossible precision. Fire lit up the darkness, but the ship's hull held strong, its new plating glowing faint blue as it absorbed the hits. Jace's fear melted into focus. His hands moved quickly, guiding the ship like an extension of himself. Let's show them you're not just aggressive, you're alive. With pleasure. The ship's cannons roared, spitting bolts of red energy. A Yanthari interceptor exploded in fire, then another. The first wave had failed. The fleet pulled back, realizing this human and his ship were not easy prey. The battle deepens minutes turned into an hour of fierce combat. Every move Jace made pushed the ship harder, but it responded as if it shared his thoughts. Where he hesitated, it encouraged. Where he doubted, it steadied him. The Council fleet fought with discipline, but Jace fought with instinct. Humans, after all, had grown up on a death world called Earth. Survival was in their blood. A squadron tried to flank them. Jace cut engines, spinning the ship in a sudden stop, letting the enemy overshoot. The ship's cannons shredded them from behind. A massive dreadnought bore down with heavy cannons. Jace angled their shields, letting the beams slide harmlessly aside. Then, with a grin, he fired a concentrated blast into its weak point. The dreadnought cracked apart like a broken egg. The fleet wavered. For the first time, they realized the truth. This was no ordinary pairing. A human and a once-rejected warship had become something more. A desperate gamble, but the Council would not back down. Admiral Karth's voice thundered again. Enough! All ships converge! We will crush them, even if it costs us half the fleet. Suddenly, dozens of ships turned and locked onto Jace. Too many. Too fast. Jace's chest tightened. There's no way. Not against all of them. The ship's voice was softer now, almost gentle. There is a way, but it requires trust beyond fear. Will you give it? Jace swallowed hard. Always. Then link with me fully. Let thought and instinct become one. No hesitation. Together. For a heartbeat, Jace hesitated. Then he pressed his palm against the console. A surge of light ran across the ship. His mind flooded with visions. Stars, vectors, weapon arcs, shield strength, all seen at once. It was overwhelming, but strangely natural. He was no longer just piloting the ship. He was the ship. The storm of fire the Council fleet closed in. But instead of retreating, Jace charged straight at them. Energy cannons unleashed hell. Shields rippled with color. The ship twisted and turned with impossible grace like a predator weaving through prey. Every shot Jace fired struck true. Every maneuver dodged death by a breath. Aliens across the fleet shouted in panic. Impossible! No ship moves like that. It's as if it knows what we'll do before we do it. That's not a ship, it's a monster. Jace laughed wildly, exhilaration burning through fear. No, we're not monsters. We're survivors. One by one, enemy ships fell. Explosions lit the void like fireworks. The fleet that had once filled the stars began to shrink, broken and scattered. The end of the battle at last. Only Admiral Karth's dreadnought remained. Its hull burned, its cannon shattered, yet it still stood defiant. Karth's voice was ragged with fury. You think this proves anything, human? You are reckless, dangerous. The galaxy will never accept you. Jace's voice was calm, steady. Maybe not. But they'll never forget what they saw tonight. A human didn't steal this ship. A human gave it a second chance. That's the difference. With a final shot, the dreadnought broke apart, drifting silent into the dark. Aftermath silence filled the stars again. Wreckage floated like frozen ghosts. The Council fleet was gone. Jace leaned back, breathing hard. His body shook, but his heart was steady. He looked around the cockpit, whispering, "We did it." "Yes, Jace," the ship said softly. We did. For a long moment, they floated quietly. Then the ship added, "Do you see now? You were never just my pilot. You are my partner. Together, we are something new. Something the galaxy has never seen." Jace smiled faintly. "Yeah, and something they'll never be able to stop." Epilogue news of the battle spread quickly. Across the galaxy, whispers turned into awe. The story of the human who restored the rejected ship was told and retold. Some called it madness. Others called it hope. But one truth stood above all. A young human and an abandoned warship had rewritten what everyone thought possible. And in the vast, endless galaxy, that was only the beginning.